Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to this, the inaugural meeting of the NHS Commissioning Board. Up until now, we have been operating as a special health authority, established at the end of October last year to be the transitional body to allow the preparatory work to be undertaken to create the Commissioning Board itself. That special health authority has now dissolved, and today we have a formal meeting at which we will transfer into the new board the policies and procedures that we previously had adopted. And the board will then take over not only the responsibilities of the old health authority, but also new responsibilities which are conferred by the 2012 legislation. It's an historic day because today the board enters into wholly new territory for the NHS. For the first time, an independent board is established by legislation, with powers conferred by legislation, and with safeguards imposed by legislation. Powers and safeguards which, combined, allow the board a significant degree of autonomy in working with the NHS, both on the provider side and on the commissioner side, in securing the best possible outcomes for patients. The autonomy is not unconditional. The stewardship of the new model of the NHS rests still with the Secretary of State, and responsibilities are shared with other arm's-length bodies. But the relationship between this board and the government is conditioned in a way which has never occurred before. That is, that the board's responsibilities are conferred by law. We are governed not only by the legislation but also by the NHS Constitution, to whose values we are completely committed, and also by a mandate, a document in which the government, for the first time ever, is required to spell out its expectations of the NHS in England and what it wishes the board to deliver. We will be publicly accountable to the government against that mandate. But the mandate, albeit yet still to be finalised, will focus primarily on outcomes and not on processes. In other words, being true to the language of the white paper by which this whole reform process was launched, a liberation of the NHS, a liberation from day-to-day political control while still securing the ultimate political accountability of the government to Parliament for the organisation of the NHS and for the outcomes to patients. So what is different? From the perspective of the board, what is overwhelmingly different is that our focus will be relentlessly on patients and on the population at large. An ability to move with the NHS into a new world in which we can cope more effectively with the twin forces of demographic change and an ageing population, the need to focus as much on care as on cure, and also the driving and compelling upward expense which faces healthcare systems all over the world. There is no healthcare system in the developed world that at the moment is financially sustainable into the future. And it compels us to ensure that every pound that is invested by the British taxpayer in the NHS in England is efficiently focused upon achieving high value and high quality outcomes for patients. Over the next 6 months, we embark upon our first statutory responsibility, which is the authorisation of some 212 new clinical commissioning groups in England. The first wave is underway, and authorisation will take place over 4 different and successive waves over the coming 6 months. It's our responsibility to ensure that the clinical commissioning groups by the 1st of April next year are fit for purpose, but not just fit for purpose, that they are as well equipped as they possibly can be to carry forward the transformation that we all anticipate for the NHS. We, in turn, from the 1st of April next year, will assume the bulk of the remaining statutory responsibilities conferred by the legislation, including responsibility for allocating some 85 billion of public investment in the NHS. And through our deployment of those funds, both in 60 billion, which goes into the clinical commissioning groups, and the remainder which goes into direct commissioning by the board itself, to focus exclusively on benefits to the population and to patients. The board has, from the start, adopted a policy of openness and transparency, and this board today, as we embark upon the next phase of our work, is as committed as we previously were. Our meetings are held in public. They're not public meetings, but held in public and are transmitted by webcast. Our documents are on the web. We are committed to engaging with the public, with patients, with representatives of patients, with the professions, with all of those with whom it is essential we collaborate to make the NHS simply the best healthcare system in the world. That has been its aspiration since 1948, and that is a remarkably powerful foundation upon which we will build from now on. We will not, of course, transact all of our business in public. We have made arrangements where we will work both as non-executive directors and as executive directors in close team working to develop the ideas, the policies, and the ways forward for the board. But we are committed to ensuring that we have open and robust discussions in public, and that in public we are accountable to the public for all of the work that we do. It gives me great pleasure to declare open the inaugural meeting of the NHS Commissioning Board. I would like to welcome to her first meeting Margaret Casely-Hayford, one of our non-executive directors, and to record apologies for absence from Professor Sir Bruce Keogh, Jim Easton, Kieran Devane, Ed Smith, and Barbara Haken. We will not today be taking the minutes or action points from earlier meetings because this is an exceptional meeting. It's the inaugural meeting of the new board, and I propose, therefore, to go straight into the business on the agenda. But first, to report that there is no fire alarm scheduled. The first item on the agenda, then, is a discussion of the role of the board, and I should like to invite Tim Kelsey to kick us off. Tim.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, as we've just heard, today I think is a call to action for all of us in this room, in the broader health service, and in local communities around the country. Because if we do want our NHS to be a genuinely world-class health service, then we must all together, collaboratively, in partnership, be impatient for patients. So I think today is a milestone. It's a milestone. This is an independent organisation, the first, as the Chairman has said, which has as its sole objective improvement in the patient outcome. That's a very big difference with the world that we've all come from. My hope is that the new organisation will be an organisation that can build on the best of the past. Fantastic work has been done all over the country to put patients right at the heart of the health service, but there's masses more to do, and this organisation has at its forefront, at its central purpose, getting that stuff done. The Chairman has alluded to 2 core principles. The first of those is transparency. I just wanted to reflect on the fact that in the last board meeting, we adopted formally a set of operating principles which mean that, for example, every member of the staff of the Commissioning Board has the obligation to put patients at the core of their own decision-making, quite literally to prioritise the patient in everything they do. Now, that's a very big ask for people, and it's a very different ask to the one perhaps they've had in the past. But this is sort of the way in which we will hopefully embed this revolutionary cultural change. And the second principle is participation. This is going to be a really big challenge. This is about working with partners collaboratively to make participation real in the health service. I think that some people will see today as the launch of an organisation. In a way, I really hope that isn't how people see what today will stand for in the future. I hope today will be a landmark for the start of a movement, a kind of a spark that ignites a social movement and very really, literally unleashes the power of people. So in a way, to mark this, we've put together a really short film, which I believe symbolises that collaborative future, a collaboration between patients, people, the staff of the health service, citizens at large. And this film was a group of people who got together to try and figure out ways in which they could kind of visually express the values of this new health service and its constitution.
We've got all those facilities and experienced specialists, and it's free, which really we're very fortunate.
I'd like to see clinical staff having more input, more say in determining what really matters.
How you book appointments in the first place with your doctor. You have to ring so early in the morning. Anybody elderly and on their own, how they get an appointment for that day, it's very difficult.
When my mum was dying of cancer earlier this year, the NHS nurses helped us to care for her, and she got what she wanted, to die in peace in her own home.
My husband was diagnosed with testicular cancer 2.5 weeks ago. They acted very, very quickly upon what my husband found, so huge thank you, and I think it's fantastic that we've got it. I think a lot of people take it for granted. I certainly won't take it for granted now.
I believe that the NHS is a truly inspired organisation. I always have, and I think it should be envied the world over.
Well, recently for the chemotherapy that they treat you so nicely, really. I mean, those nurses are dealing with so many people, and yet the minute you walk in, you're special to them.
Is there anything more, Jim?
That's it.
That's it. Well, thank you. That's dramatic and a very wonderful way to launch the board.